Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenido o bienvenida a este video. Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Nate. I've been learning Spanish for more than 11 years now. I've been teaching it online on my website, SpanishNate.com, for 5 years now. I can't believe that. And today I'm going to teach you how to learn Spanish fast. These are 100 of the most important words and phrases you need to know if you want to have conversations in Spanish. If you could do it, please like this video right now. It really does help me a lot. Gracias. Bueno, primero, hola. I think everyone knows this one. Hola, hello. This can also mean hi or hey. Hola. Buenos días. Buenos días. Now, I underlined these three because here in Mexico, I live in Mexico City, we don't typically say hi to people with hola. Of course, we do, but what I mean by this is when you pass by someone on the street, it's much more common that you would say something like buenos días or buenas tardes or buenas noches. You can say hola, but it's very common that we'll say something like buenos días or buen día or buenas tardes or buenas noches. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Notice how buenos días is masculine and not feminine. It's not buenas días, okay? Why? Simply because the word el día is masculine, okay? Buenos días, buenas tardes, buenas noches, okay? So when you see people and you say hi, instead of just saying hola, better just say buenos días, buenas tardes, or buenas noches. Buenos días is for the morning, buenas tardes for the afternoon. This is typically anywhere from 12 until sunset, and then buenas noches would be after the sun has set. ¿Cómo estás? How are you? ¿Cómo estás? Now, you may have also heard ¿cómo está? ¿Cómo está can mean how is he or how is she, but it can also refer to the usted person, which in Spanish is the formal. So in Spanish, we have the informal, which would be tú, ¿cómo estás, for example, or usted, which is you, but formal, used for people that are older than us, or maybe in a workplace, okay? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Or ¿cómo está? How are you? Formal. Estoy bien. Gracias. I'm good. Thanks. Estoy bien. Gracias. Now, estoy means I am. In Spanish, we have two different kinds of to be's. What I mean by this is we have estar, meaning to be, but we also have ser, meaning to be. The easiest way to differentiate and remember these two is by remembering that estar is temporary and ser is permanent. So if I say yo soy, that means I am. Yo soy Nate. I am Nate. And that is a permanent thing about me. Whereas yo estoy bien is a temporary thing because maybe I won't be good later today or tomorrow or whatever. Okay? Estoy bien. Gracias. ¿Y tú? And you? ¿Y tú? Remember, we can also say y usted, which would be the formal. And you? ¿Y usted? Mucho gusto. Nice to meet you. Mucho gusto. Now, this literally translates to much pleasure, but it is the most common way that we will say nice to meet you. We can also say something like encantado, which would literally translate to enchanted, but it just means it's a pleasure, or once again, nice to meet you. This is a little bit more formal, okay? It's much more common that we hear mucho gusto. Hasta luego. Hasta luego. See you later. Literally translating to until later. Hasta luego. See you later. This is super, super common here in Mexico. We use this all the time. So instead of saying adios, say hasta luego. You sound more local like that. Okay? Well, I have a bunch of things on the whiteboard, so I'm kind of squeeze on over here. Next, nos vemos. Nos vemos. See you soon. Literally translating to we see us. It just means see you soon. Nos vemos. Adiós, like you know, adiós, goodbye. Por favor, please, or literally for favor, but this means please, okay? Make sure you're using this when you're speaking to people, all right? You want to be polite. Por favor. Gracias, thank you, gracias. This literally actually translates to graces. Gracia meaning grace. When someone has gracia, it also could mean that they're funny, right? They're charismatic, tienen gracia. De nada, you're welcome. De nada, you're welcome. Literally of nothing. De nada. The preposition de is very important to understand in Spanish. It can mean of, it can mean from, it could mean about. I highly recommend you study different prepositions like de, a, con, que, and so on. ¿Dónde está el baño? ¿Dónde está el baño? This is very important to know, especially when you're traveling and maybe you've got a little Moctezuma's revenge. ¿Dónde está el baño? Where is the bathroom? Now, I underlined donde because this is a very important word to remember. Where? ¿Dónde? Now, in Spanish, the reason that we put an accent over the o in donde is because we are asking a question. If I were to just be using donde in a statement, then I would get rid of the accent. It doesn't necessarily change the pronunciation of the word, but in writing, it just shows us, okay, if there's an accent, it's going to be a question, and if there's no accent, it's going to be a statement. ¿Dónde está el baño? ¿Cuánto cuesta? ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost? ¿Cuánto cuesta? Here in Mexico, if you go to a more informal market, it is very normal that you are going to regatear. You're going to barter. Okay, so you can say, ¿Cuánto cuesta? They're going to say to you, 200 pesos. 200 pesos, 200 pesos. You're going to say, 100 pesos. They're going to say, 150 pesos. And you say, listo, gracias, boom. Then you pay, okay? Very normal. ¿Cuánto cuesta? Necesito ayuda. Necesito ayuda. I need help, okay? Necesito ayuda. Estoy perdido. Estoy perdido. I am lost. Estoy perdido. If you're female, then you would say estoy perdida, okay? Estoy perdida. ¿Puedes ayudarme? ¿Puedes ayudarme? Can you help me? Okay, ¿puedes ayudarme? You can also say, ¿me puedes ayudar? This little me right here is what we call an object pronoun. When you learn object pronouns, it's going to really, really help your Spanish. I have videos about it here on the channel and also on my website, but we're not going to go over the specifics in this video. ¿Puedes ayudarme? Awesome. Let's move on to these. No entiendo. I don't understand. No entiendo, okay? My parents used to say, no comprendo, okay? Whereas comprendo sounds a little bit odd. It still makes sense, but when you say no comprendo, it sounds like you're saying I don't comprehend. It's better to say no entiendo. I don't understand. ¿Hablas inglés? Do you speak English? ¿Hablas inglés? Notice how we have a little accent over the E, okay? Because in Spanish, the natural emphasis on a word falls on the second to last vowel. So in this case, the natural accent would fall on the second to last vowel, which would be, in this case, I or E in Spanish. So it would be inglés. However, it sounds a little odd, so we put a new accent on there, and now we have inglés, okay? ¿Hablas inglés? Okay? Hablo un poco de español. I speak a little Spanish. Hablo un poco de español. That's really good to know. Also, maybe you've been wondering about why we put question marks at the beginning of our sentences when we're asking questions. It's just simply so that in writing, we can see, okay, this is going to be a question, okay? ¿Dónde está? Like we talked about, where is? ¿Dónde está? That's really important to know. So, do you remember how I talked about the difference between ser and estar? How ser is permanent and estar is temporary? When we use estar, we'll also use it for locations, okay? ¿Dónde está el baño? ¿Dónde está la casa? ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? That's a very kind of popular phrase, right? ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Okay? A la derecha, to the right. A la derecha. Derecha is right, izquierda is left. A la izquierda, to the right, to the left. A la izquierda. Now, derecho is kind of a weird one. Derecho means straight. You could also say recto. In this case, better to say derecho, okay? Todo derecho. Let's say you're in a taxi or in an Uber. You would say todo derecho, por favor. Just all straight. Keep going straight, por favor. Okay? A la derecha, a la izquierda, derecho. Straight. Okay? Cerca, close. Lejos, far. Quiero. This is really good to know. I want. Quiero. Yo quiero, blah, blah, blah. Yo quiero unos tacos. Now, notice how here I don't have to say yo quiero. I don't have to attach that subject pronoun. I can just say quiero. That's because in Spanish, we can conjugate verbs. We take them out of the original form, which is called the infinitive, and then we conjugate them. So it'd be yo hablo, tú hablas, él habla, and so on. So, same thing with the verb querer. We would have yo quiero, tú quieres, él quiere, and so on. So I don't need to say yo quiero. I can just say quiero, and people will understand that I'm saying I want. Okay, that's a really nice thing about Spanish. ¿Me puede dar el menú? ¿Me puede dar el menú? Can you give me the menu? ¿Me puede dar el menú? Now, in Mexico, it is very normal that when we order, we will say me da or me das, okay? ¿Me das unos tacos, por favor? ¿Me da unos tacos, por favor? So the only difference between me da and me das is the formality. Me das is a little bit more informal. Me da is formal, is more formal. Now, a lot of people will say to me, well, Nate, that sounds kind of rude. In Mexico, this is not considered to be rude. This is a very normal way to order, okay? Me da or me das. Do not say something like puedo tener. That immediately gives away you're a foreigner. Say me da or me das, or just quiero, okay? La cuenta, the bill or the check, la cuenta. Joven, la cuenta, por favor. The bill, please. La cuenta, por favor. Sí, enseguida. Yes, coming right up, okay? Sin hielo, no ice. Sin means without. Sin hielo, okay? Hielo means ice. A lot of foreigners, when they come to Mexico, worry about drinking water and that maybe if they drink water with ice, it's going to hurt them. Personally, I've never had any experiences with that, but if you want to play it safe, when you order, say, y mi agua sin hielo, por favor. Sin hielo, okay? ¿Tienen opciones vegetarianas? ¿Tienen opciones vegetarianas? So if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can say, ¿tienen opciones vegetarianas? Vegan would be veganas in this case, veganas, it's the same. ¿Tienen opciones vegetarianas? Do you have vegetarian options? Tengo alergia a, I'm allergic to, or I have an allergy to, blah, 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 okay? Está rico. It's delicious. It's tasty. In Mexico, we oftentimes use the word rico to say that something is tasty. Oh, está muy rico. It's very tasty. It's very good. Un café, porfa. Okay? Café is coffee, and porfa is a shortened version of por favor. This is kind of a cuter way to say please. Porfa. Men and women will say this. You can also say porfis, which just kind of sounds cute. I think mostly women will say that. Un café porfis. That's kind of a really cute way. But porfa is just a shortened way to say por favor. ¿Me das un café, porfa? Sí, claro que sí. Okay? And finally, más agua. Más agua. More water. Más agua, por favor. Sin hielo. Por favor. Sin hielo. Without ice. Okay? Number 39. ¿Aceptan tarjeta? Do you accept card? ¿Aceptan tarjeta? Now, the word tarjeta in this case is referring to a credit card. However, if you want to talk about a card that you write to someone, that will be a carta, una carta. Okay, but in this case, ¿aceptan tarjeta? Do you accept card? Solo efectivo, only cash, efectivo. That's very important, especially if you're traveling throughout Latin America. Here in Mexico, we use a lot of efectivo. So in many places, you'll see signs that will say, pago en solo efectivo, okay? Solo, only, just. ¿Tienen descuento? Do you have a discount? ¿Tienen descuento? ¿Puedo probar esto? Now, in this case, the verb probar means to try. Typically, we use the verb probar, meaning to try, typically for food or for clothing. So in this case, it sounds like I'm talking about maybe a food. ¿Puedo probar esto? Can I try this? However, if you're talking about a clothing item, you can make this verb reflexive, meaning can I try it on myself? ¿Puedo probarme esto? ¿Puedo probarme esto? Okay. Now, we have kind of three different ways we can say to try. We have tratar, intentar, and probar. So probar is used for food and clothing typically. Intentar is like to attempt something, to try and attempt something. And then tratar can just be a general version of to try. It can also mean to treat, okay? Like to treat a wound. Es demasiado caro. Es demasiado caro. It's too expensive. Demasiado meaning too in this case. However, demasiado can also mean too much or too many. Es demasiado caro. You could also use the word muy. Es muy caro. Okay? ¿Tienen otra talla? ¿Tienen otra talla? Do you have another size? Talla is size. Okay, so that could be chico, mediano, grande. Okay? Qué bonito. How beautiful or how pretty. Qué bonito. Okay, this could be talking about like, oh, what a beautiful landscape. Qué bonito. That could also be talking about, seeing a cute couple, right? Ay, qué bonito, right? How nice, how sweet. Qué bueno. How good or awesome, good. Qué bueno, qué bueno. Oh, qué bueno que ustedes van a salir la próxima semana. Qué bueno. Genial. Genial means cool or great. Genial. Ah, genial. Great. Cool. Okay? Here in Mexico, we would say something like, ah, qué chido. Qué padre. That's like, oh, how cool. How good. Okay? Qué pena. How embarrassing. It can also mean what a shame. In Mexico, we might say something like, qué oso. Literally meaning what bear. What a bear. But it just means how embarrassing. Qué pena. Ay, no. Qué pena. How embarrassing. Or, oh, what a shame. Felicidades. Congratulations. Felicidades. Congratulations. You can say that to someone on their birthday. Okay? I'm going to kind of be here in the corner again. ¿Qué haces? ¿Qué haces? Okay, so I highlighted this because this means what do you do? However, it also means what are you doing? ¿Qué haces? It is very normal in Spanish that we will use the regular present tense and it will behave like the progressive. So the idea of the ing verbs in English. Doing, laughing, crying. Okay? ¿Qué haces? What are you doing? Okay, so anything that is going to be in the near future or is happening right now, we can also use the present tense. ¿Qué haces? Okay? Or let's say, someone calls you and they said, hey, come here. And you say, voy, I'm going. Okay? I'll be right there. I'm coming. Okay? Voy, which you could also translate to as I go. Okay? ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? Literally, how do you call yourself? ¿Cómo te llamas? Well, me llamo Nate. Me llamo Nate. My name is Nate. Or I call myself Nate. Okay? This verb, llamar, means to call. When we add this on here, now it's become a reflexive, meaning I do that action to myself. I call myself Nate. Okay? My name is Nate. ¿Cuántos años tienes? How many years do you have? Or how old are you? ¿Cuántos años tienes? Now be careful with this word right here. Don't say años because that means anuses. Say años, okay, with the accent there. ¿Cuántos años tienes? Tengo 25 años. I'm 25. Tengo 25 años. Okay? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Literally, of where are you? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? Yo soy de California. I am from California. Literally, I am of California. Soy de California. Llama a una ambulancia. Call an ambulance. Llama a una ambulancia. Now, here we have the informal command. Llama. Okay, to form that, you just cut off the R on the infinitive ending, and you basically just put it in the third person singular, so the él, ella, usted form, and that will be referring to the tú person. Llama, baila, for example. Come, all right? Ayuda, help, ayuda. You can also say auxilio. However, it's more common that we'll say ayuda. Cuidado, careful. Cuidado, be careful, okay? In Mexico, we'll also use the phrase aguas, meaning look out or be careful. Watch out, okay? Aguas, okay? Literally meaning waters, okay? All right, and then let's come to this side. Necesito un médico. I need a doctor or I need a medic. Necesito un médico. Perdí mi pasaporte. I lost my passport. Perdí mi pasaporte. Okay, the reason I underline this is because this is what we call the preterite in Spanish. In Spanish, we have two common uses of the past tense, the preterite and the imperfect, okay? Perdí, meaning I lost. That's a one-time action in the past. I wasn't losing, I didn't lose my passport. I lost my passport. Whereas if we were to put this in the imperfect, which in this case doesn't really make sense, it would be perdía, meaning I was losing. Perdía el juego. I was losing the game. I didn't lose the game, I was losing, right? Perdí el juego, I lost the game. Perdía el juego, I was losing the game. You could also translate that too as I used to lose the game, which in this sentence doesn't make sense. Me robaron. They stole from me. Me robaron. Robar meaning to steal. Me representing me. Me robaron. They stole from me. Okay? ¿A qué hora? ¿A qué hora? At what time? ¿A qué hora es la fiesta? What time is the party? Hora. That can also mean hour, but most often in Spanish, this is going to mean time. ¿A qué hora? Nos vemos a las 10. We'll see each other at 10 or see you at 10. Now in Spanish, we'll use a las for plural times. So the only time when we're going to say a la is for a la una, okay, because it's singular. But all the other times in Spanish, so 2 up until 12, will be a las. Son las 12, son las 11, son las 10, son las 9, and so on, okay? The only time would be a la una. ¿Quieres salir? ¿Quieres salir? Do you want to go out? Do you want to go outside? ¿Quieres salir? Ya no quiero estar en la casa. Quiero salir. I want to go out. Do you want to go out? Now, I underlined the verb salir because this can also be used in a kind of dating way. ¿Quieres salir conmigo? Do you want to go out with me? Like, do you want to date me? Okay. ¿Quieres salir? ¿Qué quieres hacer? What do you want to do? ¿Qué quieres hacer? What do you want to do? ¿Dónde nos vemos? Where are we going to see each other? ¿Dónde nos vemos? ¿Dónde nos vemos? Where do we see each other? Where are we going to see each other? Tengo una reserva. I have a reservation. You can also say reservación. Reserva is just kind of the shorter version of that. Tengo una reserva. Next, ¿a qué hora sale el vuelo? At what time does the flight leave? Notice how we're using that verb salir again, to go, or in this case, to leave. We can also take the verb ir, meaning to go, and if we add on se, making it reflexive, we can say irse, which would change the meaning to leave. For example, ya me voy. I am leaving now. Ya me voy. Or ya voy, meaning I am going, or I'll be right there, okay? But ya me voy means I'm leaving now, okay? Un boleto de ida y vuelta. Okay, this is really important. When you buy plane tickets, typically you're going to buy boletos de ida y vuelta. Okay, so ida meaning going there, and vuelta meaning coming back. Okay, vuelta meaning like return. Okay, so round trip tickets. Boletos de ida y vuelta. Perdí mi maleta. I lost my suitcase, or I lost my bag. Perdí mi maleta. Maleta is typically just a bag that is used when we travel. ¿Cuánto tiempo se tarda? How long does it take? ¿Cuánto tiempo se tarda? Now, what the heck is this little se, okay? Well, the thing is, we don't know who is doing the action of being late, or what is doing the action of being late, and therefore we say se tarda. ¿Cuánto tiempo se tarda? ¿Puedo sentarme aquí? Can I sit here? ¿Puedo sentarme aquí? We can also say, ¿me puedo sentar aquí? Can I sit here? ¿Me puedo sentar aquí? Necesito un taxi. I need a taxi. Necesito un taxi. Now, if you want to prove your pronunciation in Spanish, focus on the vowel sounds. A, E, I, O, U. I promise you, if you just master those, your Spanish will sound way better. Okay? Me gusta. I like. Me gusta. Now, this can be pretty confusing for Spanish learners. Why? Because in English, we would just translate this as I like. But in reality, this would mean blank is pleasing to me. For example, me gusta el béisbol. I like baseball. Me gusta el béisbol. So we say gusta, not gusto. Do not say me gusto. That sounds weird. You want to say me gusta, then whatever it is you're talking about. So el béisbol. So it'd be gusta because this verb is being conjugated based off of el béisbol, which it falls under that third person singular, the él, ella, or usted. Okay? Me gusta el béisbol. Now, If it's plural, then this would change to me gustan. For example, I like the game. Me gusta el juego. I like the games. Me gustan los juegos. Me gustan los juegos. Okay? So it's not me gusto. Don't ever say that. No me gusta. Okay? That's just I don't like. Okay? All we have to do is add on the no and then it becomes negative. All right? Me encanta. I love. Me encanta. This literally means it enchants me. Okay? Me encanta el béisbol. I love it. I love baseball. Okay? Now, you can also say amo, which is coming from the verb amar. However, we typically use that when we're talking about someone else. I love that person. I love my girlfriend. Whatever. Me encanta. I love. Okay? Prefiero, blah, blah, blah. Prefiero comida japonesa que comida china. I prefer Japanese food over Chinese food. Okay? Prefiero. I prefer. No puedo. No puedo. I can't or I cannot. Yo no puedo mean the same thing. I can't. ¿Te gusta blah, blah, blah? ¿Te gusta comida japonesa? Do you like Japanese food? ¿Te gusta comida japonesa? Okay. Remember, it's not gusto or gustas. It's gusta because remember, the thing we're talking about is what we're conjugating for. Okay. So in this case, comida japonesa, third person singular, falls under el, ella, or usted. So it'll be gusta. Okay. Mi familia. My family, mi familia. Obviously, you can use this for your blood family, but you can also just say this if you're talking about people that you love in general. It's very normal that you hear this in songs. You say familia. It's basically just saying like everyone or everybody, I consider you my family, familia. Okay. Amigo or amiga, friend. Okay. Amigo, masculine, amiga, feminine. Pareja, this means couple, okay? Mi pareja can also mean partner, okay? Mi pareja es muy bonita. My partner is very beautiful or pretty. Hijo or hija. Remember that in Spanish, we don't pronounce that H, okay? If it's coming at the start, we don't say hijo, we say hijo, okay? Now, maybe you've heard people say mijo, okay? That is literally just combining mi with hijo. And because they kind of get squashed together, it becomes mijo or mija, my son or my daughter. Mis padres, my parents. Mis padres. Now careful, don't get parientes confused with parents, okay? Parientes means relatives, okay? Not parents. Parientes is relatives. Padres is parents. Hace frío. It's cold. Careful, don't say es frío or está frío. Say hace frío. It's cold, okay? That's just the way we do it in Spanish. Hace calor. It's hot. Hace calor. Okay? All right? We're almost done. Está lloviendo. It's raining. Está lloviendo. This is what we call the present progressive, okay? So in Spanish, if you want to make something like an ing verb in English, all you'll do is add on ando or yendo. If it's an AR verb, like hablar, we'll add on ando. And if it's an ER or an IR verb, then we'll add on yendo. So está lloviendo. Llover, ER, está lloviendo. It's raining. Hace sol. It's sunny. Once again, we're not going to say es or está. We're going to say hace sol. ¿Qué tiempo hace? What's the weather? ¿Qué tiempo hace? Notice how when it comes to weather, we're oftentimes using the verb hacer, meaning to do or to make. ¿Cómo se dice blank en español? ¿Cómo se dice bag en español? Se dice bolsa. Okay? How do you say in español? Once again, we're seeing that se there. What the heck is that? Okay? This is the impersonal. It's the idea that we don't know, or no, excuse me. This is the idea of people in general. In English, we would say, how do you say? But in Spanish, if I say como dices, literally como dices, it sounds like I'm talking to you specifically. Whereas here, I want to say, how do people in general say this? That's like why we would see se habla español. People speak Spanish or one speaks Spanish, okay? This is the idea of people in general, okay? Not you specifically, but people in general. How do people say blank in Spanish? ¿Puedes repetir eso? Can you repeat that? ¿Puedes repetir eso? Careful. Eso means that, but that is the neuter, okay? There is no gender attached to it, right? I'm just asking you a general question. How do I say that? Or what is that? What is this? Okay, I don't necessarily know the gender. Ese, E-S-E, is masculine, meaning that, and esa is feminine, meaning that, okay? So, Ese amigo, that friend, that's masculine. Esa amiga, that friend, feminine, okay? But eso is the neuter, okay? There's no gender attached. Más despacio, slower. Más despacio. ¿Qué significa? ¿Qué significa blah, blah? What does huarache mean? If you know, leave me a comment, okay? Estoy aprendiendo español. Estoy aprendiendo español. I'm learning Spanish. Remember, here's that present progressive like we saw up here, okay? I am learning Spanish. Necesito practicar más. I need to practice more. Necesito practicar más. ¿Puedes escribirlo? ¿Puedes escribirlo? Can you write it? Now, whenever you hear the little word lo, 9 out of 10 times it means it, and it is referring to an inanimate object. Sometimes lo can refer to a person, but 9 out of 10 times it's going to mean it for an object. All right, 3 more. ¿Cuándo? When? ¿Cuándo? When? Okay? Now, here, it kind of depends how I say this. If I say ¿cuándo? That could mean when, like I'm asking a question. Or I could say cuando blah, 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 blah. Okay, when this, then that. Okay, so notice how the tone can change if it's going to be just a statement or a question. Quiero mejorar. I want to get better or I want to improve. Quiero mejorar. Okay, and finally, gracias por ayudarme. Thanks for helping me. Gracias por ayudarme. Bueno, I know this has been a lot of information. If you could, please like this video. It really does help me out a lot. And if you'd like to learn more Spanish from me, check out my website, SpanishWithNate.com. I have a beginner program, my full Fluent Spanish Speaker Academy, and I also offer one-on-one lessons if you're interested. So check that out at SpanishWithNate.com. Bueno, muchas gracias y espero que tengas muy buen día. Hasta luego.